Welcome, new and old friends. My name is 242, and today 2 got us 7. That's right, 7 stories from Tales from Retail this Freaky Friday. Make sure you hit that like button, share, sub, and comment. All these things will help this channel. Now grab yourself a tea or a coffee. Things are about to get interesting. 9-year-old wants to buy beer by October J. This morning, Easter Sunday, I was working at my convenience store. A young man, about 9 I'm guessing, was shopping for drinks for his family that was visiting. He had an array of sodas and teas. He came up to the counter and asked me where the cooler's light was. I had to pause for a moment. He said he was buying drinks for everyone and that he wanted to buy a can of Cooler's Light for his dad because that's what Dad likes the best. He was so serious. I explained to him that you need to be 21 years old to buy beer, and he just looked at his feet. Oh, okay. He then revisits the pop coolers and finds something else for dear old Dad. It was absolutely adorable. Edit to add, thank you so much for the awards and comments. I do know both of the kids' parents. We're in a small town and he rode his bike up to the store. Did you find the eggnog by Soliloquy? I work in a small grocery store and this short story happened a day before Christmas. The store was full of people purchasing ingredients and diner items. We were running out of stuff quickly. This old man approaches me and aggressively says, "Eggnog!" I ask him again, excuse me? He replies with, "You got eggnog!" And then I tell him I'm going to go check the back. Since the shelf was empty, I checked the back and nothing. We are all out of eggnog. I come back and he's not where I had left him, so I decide to look for him and I see him at the register getting checked out. As soon as I approach him, he yells at the cashier, "Stop! Stop scanning!" As he puts his hands up in her face, he turns around and asks me out loud, "Did you find eggnog?" I tell him that we're all out, and he just turns around, gets checked out, pays and leaves without saying a single word. Don't Shoot Yourself in the Foot by Bookworm 213. So I have 2 women who come to my store once a week. Every time they find something wrong. One week, they can't find the price for a product. The next week, they think something is too expensive, so they ask me to check. The following week, they find something labeled incorrectly. So on and so forth. Every time they come in, I'm running and finding prices for them or double checking. Not a big deal when it's slow, but when we're busy, I hate it. So today, they come in and sure enough, they call me over. The young one points to a box of 4 butter croissants labeled as 6 margarine croissants. "I believe these are labeled incorrectly," she says. I'm about to explain to her that the pack of 6 margarine croissants is cheaper than 4 butter croissants. And since they were labeled incorrectly, she gets the cheaper price. But before I can say anything, she cuts me off. "I just want the correct price." I'm too happy to oblige. So I walk over to my printer and get the correct tags. "Thank you for catching that, ma'am," I say as I rip off the old labels and put on the new ones with the more expensive price tag. Wouldn't want these labeled incorrectly. Their actual price is X. I see her look at the croissants for a moment before muttering, "I just shot myself in the foot with that one." Yes, she did. I love when difficult customers do stuff like this. Sometimes it's better to just leave good enough alone, or at least let me explain. Rules are made to be broken. By Kelly Blue Book. Long ago, but not too long ago, I worked at a store that had a return policy of 90 days. If you brought in an item undamaged with the receipt within the time frame, we would happily and easily complete the return and send you on your merry way. One day, a woman comes in with an item to return. I scan a receipt as this is the easiest way to complete a return, and the system won't scan it. Just comes up with an error, so then I manually input the receipt and I see what's wrong with it. Turns out, she bought it something like 93 days ago, just over the 90-day period. Now, at this point, there's nothing I can do to give her her full price of whatever she wanted to return, as I was just a humble worker bee, so I gave her two options. I can run this as a return without a receipt, but that will give her the lowest price the item has been in the past 60 days or so. This store constantly has a very large sales. I'm guessing she's going to get 60% of the full price she paid, and the money can only be put on a store gift card. Or I call a manager up to see what they can do. She goes with option 2. Okay, no problem. Means the problem is out of my hands. I'm just here for the ride now, as there weren't any other people in line. Manager comes up, explains the 90-day policy that is very clearly stated on the receipt, as well as the big-ass sign above the counter, saying the same thing I did. We can't return it unless you return it without a receipt. The next words out of this woman's mouth were, "But that's ridiculous. Rules are made to be broken." Eventually, manager told her to take it or leave it. She took the store gift card. Bonus story time. Had an older lady come in one time with an item to return with a receipt. It was like yarn or something. The receipt was 5 years old. Like, what? Best Customer Ever by Amanis UK. So, I was working in a retail store for about 2 months at this point, and it was my first part-time job. I worked in the dedicated section that sold home computers. Although it's a big store, it only holds the main items. Anyways, a customer came in and wanted to purchase a computer and other bits. So I went through it with him, and he needed a modem, a printer, and comm software. All we have in stock is the computer. Without prompting, I get on the phone and call the other shops up and down the street to see what they have in stock. I then drew a map and show him where to get the stuff, and off he goes. After this point, I did not sell him anything, and my customer had left the store. An hour later, the customer comes back. I purchased all the accessories, so now I've come for the computer. Did they not have the computer? I asked. Yes, they did, but as you were the most helpful, I think you deserve the sale, says the customer. And so I sold them the computer and will always remember that customer. Thank you, patient customer. I hope you realize I'll never forget you. By Anonymous. So, I do work retail and I have to do piercings, which I don't enjoy as it causes me stress, so I only do it when I'm the only trained one to do so. This lady came up for a piercing. I asked her the usual questions. Who's it for? Age? Do you have photo ID? The lady told me that it was for her daughter, who is under 16, which is legal age for consent for ear piercings, and she told me she had photo ID in order to consent on behalf of her daughter. She paid and was on to the consent form when, lo and behold, she can't find any ID and had to get a photo of it sent through to her phone. Her daughter seemed scared and didn't want it, and I offered the kid many opportunities to back out, saying that if you're too stressed or nervous, there is no problem with a quick refund. Her mom basically pressuring her into it, and I'm trying to make the girl feel better, all while waiting for the mom's ID to come through. The mom said she would leave the store for a better reception, and in that time, another lady came up to me wanting a piercing, and I was at the counter explaining the process to her and said there would be a bit of a wait due to the other lady and her ID. The customer asked if we could just squeeze her in if we were just waiting. I kid you not, I was so scared of the mom because she seemed like if I messed up, she would really be rude to me. I just said to the customer, I would any other time, but I'm worried she'll yell at me. The customer just nodded and said, "Ah, one of those." I still want to thank that customer for being so patient with me. And yes, the mother did end up getting her daughter's ears done. I just ended up distracting her by talking about her pets. Yes, the daughter ended up crying. And the second customer, waiting for the piercing, actually managed to talk to the mother and convince her to let her daughter watch me do hers first. That way she wouldn't be scared. Edit. Gained a lot of questions. I did ask the girl if she wanted it, and she said yes. She was just scared when her mom wasn't around, and was continuing her if she wanted it. Now, because she told me she wanted it, I had to do it. If she had said no, then I can work around the word and not have her had it done. I am also not allowed to explicitly say no, I have to work around the word no. I.e., your daughter seems really stressed and not wanting it. I would recommend coming back at a later date. I am also talking to my doctor to find a way of getting out of them all together. The Legend of the Lego Lifter by Kasabi. Just happened to think of the story again the other day. It happened around 5 years ago during my first tenure with a national shopping chain. I tend to work the toy department in this chain, and over the span of a few weeks, one summer, I'd been stocking the shelves or tidying up my area, and I noticed that some of the Lego sets had been opened, or the counts were off. And I'm not just talking the $10 sets. Oftentimes, it would be the big sets for $100 or more. What's especially interesting is Lego packages their products so that they're not just one side of tape you have to cut through or a fold open. You quite literally have to tear open the side of the box with some perforated areas. It got noticeable to the point where I knew it was a serial offender, not just a random passerby who wanted to yoink a few random minifigures out of a set. Our security had noticed, and they started to keep a more careful watch. A bit of time passed by, and finally, one of the workers in electronics asked me if I had heard about the Lego thief. I hadn't seen anything go missing for over a week, and I asked if he knew anything new. Turns out, the security team caught the perpetrator one afternoon trying to take a few sets into the restroom area. It was a minor who was trying to stuff the sets, send boxes, into his backpack. Apparently the day they were caught, they were trying to lift 2 sets worth approximately $250. What's even nuttier is how this kid went about his business. See, the kid was supposed to be at a swim class up the road 1.5 miles away. He would show up for his lesson with his parents, presumably, then dip out immediately with his backpack, walk for nearly a half an hour one way to our store, slip the Legos into his pack, and then walk back in time to meet his parents at the end of his scheduled lesson. I'd estimate this kid got to near felon levels of shoplifting. But incredibly, I suspect his parents didn't even know he had this treasure trove of Legos in his room after every lesson. They didn't hear the plastic jingle, or heck, even know that his swimming trunks and towel were probably dry after every lesson. By far, one of the most meticulous thieves I've ever seen working in retail for nearly a decade. I wanted to start with saying, I know these aren't the most extreme customers you've ever heard. A lot of these are just heartwarming ones. Sometimes I find it's just nice to remember that there are good people out there. Now, on to my opinions about each story. So let's start with the 9-year-old. That story put a huge smile on my face as I read it. He just wanted to get his dad a drink. What a cute little kid. I hope everyone appreciated the drinks he got them. Now, about the eggnog, that voice I did for that man kind of hurt. I probably won't do it again. But how rude can you be? It's Christmas Eve, everyone's stressed out, and you, sir, made it worse. I wonder if he sat at home thinking about the eggnog he wanted so badly, but saying nothing to anyone because he's just so upset. Now about the woman and the croissants. Maybe next time, listen to what the person wants to say before you rudely interrupt them. I really hope she learned her lesson about this. Most likely not, though. I really feel for you, OP. I wish you the best on this. Now, rules are made for breaking? Not always. Some you can't get around, and some you don't want to get around. Also, 5 years to return something? What? Are you kidding me? Great stories, and I've had a few customers like that. Best customer ever? What a sweet guy. OP did a great job to make sure this guy got everything he needed. And then the customer was so sweet that he comes back for the computer. Also, OP is a YouTuber as well, and I'll have his links in the normal places. But yeah, no, I would be over the moon if someone came back after I had helped them to get everything they needed somewhere else. Great customer and great customer service, OP. The patient customer, the mom did sound great. I am happy customer 2 got to go while they waited and showed the daughter it didn't hurt that bad, though, of course, the daughter did cry. I really hope you don't have to do these anymore, OP, if you're really not comfortable or feel okay with piercing someone's ears. I personally had to get my ears pierced twice, and neither time really hurt, but I remember being scared. And I couldn't imagine if you're someone on the other side having to give it to someone, and how not great that would be for the person getting the piercing either. So I really do hope you get out of that. Lastly, about the Lego thief. What a smart kid. Now, I want to go over how I think his parents didn't realize everything. Thief walks the store, gets the Legos, walks back and quickly goes into the pool or the change room and gets his shorts and towels wet to hide the fact that he never swam. It's not that hard, maybe even wets his hair a little. I mean, it doesn't take too much to hide it. He could have also been selling the Lego to friends, could have been doing a lot with the Lego once he got his hands on it. Who knows, but he was pretty darn smart. And also, his parents might not have been paying that much attention. There's a few ways he really could have got away with this. But yeah, a really smart kid. Sadly, he used it in the wrong ways. Tell me what you think down below. What story really interests you the most? If you like this video, then hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, please consider to subscribe and turn that pretty bell to all notifications. If you like to hear the audio only, check out my podcast, Daydreams and Nightmares with 242. I would like to welcome my newest Patreon, Matthew from Matthew Interviews. If you'd like to join and get a shout out as well, check out my Patreon, and of course the links are down below, and if you want something with my avatars on it, check out my merch. But thank you as always for watching. That is always amazing. I hope you have a good day.